sounds of Stadia Podcast for 2022. That's right, folks. It's a new dawn. It's a new day. It's a new life for me. Richie?
Well, I'm still alive, so it's the same life for me.
But are you feeling good?
Well, you tried to kill me off, I noticed, in the last episode. But it didn't work.
We do our best. We do our best here at Helix Cloud Games, folks. Especially on the Sounds of Stadia podcast, your weekly Stadia show where we round up all of the Stadia and gaming news for your listening, viewing pleasure. Even in the barren months of January, February and March when there's not much to talk about, we pull together all the stories so you can keep yourself in the loop and up to date with all things going on up there in the cloud. We do have a great show for you all this week, talking about all the upcoming information we have on Stadia. That's about it. But no, in all seriousness, we've got stories covering some purchases, some buyouts that have happened in the games industry, some new movements referring to the Stadia Makers program, Marvel's Avengers getting a new character, and Ubisoft taking more shit for their Quartz NFT program. That plus we're going to recap on Richie of the pro games, and we're also going to be breaking down your game of the year, Richie, because we missed you on last week's show. It was actually a weird situation where Tom came back. I don't know if you've seen him. You actually missed him. It's almost...
Yeah.
It's like you're the same person. They've never been seen in the same room this year.
You're right. We haven't been seen in the same room this year.
You're the same person.
On January the 2nd, we haven't been seen in the same room.
That is true, folks, because it is a new year. We're back. Obviously, Tom was here last week for the 118th episode. We told you we wouldn't miss one. Regularly scheduled program every Monday. This show drops, so you can catch us on youtube.com/Helix Cloud Games or up there in the digital cloud on your podcast preference of choice. But yes, Richie, we missed you. We got Tom back in for a Christmas special, and you had to go and get ill.
I know. I managed to survive 117 episodes before the world finally caught up with me.
Yep.
But as you said in the show, like I woke up that morning feeling fine, and by the end of the day I just felt like horrendous. It's like I messages quite late because I was hoping like I could kind of almost like rebound and like get myself together to like get through a show, but I was like, I looked in the mirror at one point and went, no. Like, you look a mess. Message them. Go to bed.
Go to bed. We've all been there. We've all been there. And you can certainly be forgiven for taking 1 week off out of, like you said, 117 on the bounce.
You know what? It was kind of nice to just sit back when the episode went live and just listen to it as a fan rather than like...
Yeah, because that's the first time you've done it.
Yeah, it's the first episode of the Sound Stadia podcast and the first episode of SideQuest that I haven't featured on at all. So it's like...
You didn't even do an introduction like I did. The one I missed due to family issues, I still did a introduction to the show because I didn't want to not be on an episode.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, yours would have just
wasn't
been like
that was in the run up to episode 100 though, wasn't it?
It was, yeah, crazy time. But it just goes to show we do a lot of Stadia content here, and I kind of wanted to kick things off this year. Like I said, it's a brand new year. We know what last year was like. We've done many shows covering the ins and outs, the trials and tribulations of marketing, promotions, games, and just the gaming industry as a whole. So let's start things off fresh, folks. We know our viewers and listeners out there, you're quite like-minded people. You just enjoy the games, you enjoy the tech, and we like talking about it, and that's what we are here for. So to kind of reflect and look forward, Richie, I pulled some great stats from the 2021 year in total, and I posted them up on Twitter if you guys caught it out there. Just follow at Helix Cloud Games over on there. But you might have missed one episode, Richie, but looking back throughout the year, we've actually put out 70 plus hours of content for this show alone. So that's over 70 hours of just discussing Stadia and cloud gaming as a whole. We've done 28 hours of the SideQuest show, which actually launched last year. Looking back doing the numbers, it was actually... I actually went right back to January, and actually, I didn't post it in the stats, but there's also 20 hours of our old post show that does exist out there at the beginning of last year, because we must have launched SideQuest in like the March time.
Yeah, we launched it once we hit 1,000 subs.
So yeah, perfectly in line with that. Shout out to all of our members as well. Hope you did all have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. So plenty of time added up there, and then our live streams and our first looks combined amassed to over 80 hours of Stadia live streams and gaming content. That's a lot of time.
You know what? If you work it out, including the post-show content, like the 20 plus hours there, we're averaging about half an hour of content a day.
Oh, that's a scary number. That is a scary
over the course of the year, that's what we're averaging.
Crunching some fast, and that's not including all of the conversation we have with our wonderful Discord members. If you are new to Stadia, you might have got a premiere edition for Christmas. Check out the description, the link below. We have a very active Discord chat group where we talk about games, Christmas presents, things going on in our lives, movies, TV, just anything in there. And yeah, we're in there constantly as well. So you tally up all those little minutes spent reading conversations. Half an hour a day. Wow.
The Discord chat is something I need to get back involved in a bit more. Towards the end of last year, I was kind of very much just like tunnel vision on getting to the end of the year, looking forward to my Christmas break. Mm-hmm. So there's like a lot of time like what I wasn't spending on like things like social media and Discord. It was just kind of like, I must admit, I was just like, get to the end of the year, get to the end of the year, get to the end of the year, then got ill.
Yeah, it was an interesting one, the way everything was timed and worked out. Obviously, our content went up exactly the same. SideQuest actually went up a little bit early for our members because of the way Christmas and New Year's landed. Shout out again to all of our wonderful members out there, everyone in our Discord. We couldn't do this without you, and we just hope you've enjoyed the content from the last year. I know many of you reached out to us and said Happy New Year. We do appreciate that. Happy New Year to you guys as well, and hopefully the consistency we've had throughout the last 2 and a bit years anyway will continue through 2022. We will be back this Thursday with another live stream. Probably one of the pro games, Richie. I think we'll check out one of the January pro games. Might put our detective caps on and jump into Dark Side Detective. Fumble in the Dark, of course, one of your pro games, which we'll talk about in just a brief moment if you've not checked them out already. It is, after all, only the 2nd of January, so plenty of time to play these games. But before we get into the thick of the show, my intention is just to quickly recap on a few bits of news that did drop over Christmas relating to the community as a whole. So a big shout out to Clive Illenden and John Scarr, who hosted the inaugural Stadia Community Game Awards.
Both friends of the show.
Both friends, both guests of the show. We both had them on last year as well. Terrific content unto themselves. Plenty of Stadia-focused content. Clive's Monday Night Show. John's Stadium Connect North show. Great content out there. Go check those guys' channels out if not. But just shout out for pulling it all together. The production value was terrific. Clive rocking his tux. And just going through a few of the awards. Plenty of people were active in the chat, of course. It went live on New Year's Eve. But it just goes to show, if you're looking for pure Stadia-related content, there is ample stuff out there for you to find, watch, gorge yourselves on into the new year. Even though we're all probably trying to cut back, diet a little bit, and eat less. No calories in the cloud, folks.
It's true.
So eat all, get your fill, take your fill your boots up. But shout out to those guys. And I just wanted to give a special shout out as well to, on a different note, Jem, our good friend Jem, over at Jembear, decided to close down his channel for whatever reasons. He posted out a tweet, I think, sometime between Christmas and New Year. But I just wanted to shout out Jem for all of his great work in the community, all his videos, his first looks, his technical prowess in helping people fix Ark Survival Evolved and frame rate issues and everything else along the way on his journey. So we wish you the best, Jem. I'm sure you're still having fun playing games out there as you do. We'll see you in the clouds, my friend. And other than that, Richie, it was quite a quiet one. It was nice to see things wind down a little bit. Everyone take some well-deserved time off and just enjoy some games.
Yeah, it's been like, for me, the last 2 weeks has been exactly what I wanted it to be. And I did nothing. It was fantastic. Spent some time with friends, spent some time with family. Did nothing else apart from play games. I've become slightly nocturnal. I need to sort that out before I go back to work. But
yeah.
No, I feel much more relaxed, much more better rested than I did like a month, like at the end of like last year.
Yeah.
And well, I'm lucky enough to, because I didn't take much time off over the last year. I do have plenty of holidays to burn, so I've went down to 4 days a week for the next 3 months. So even more time to maintain my new sunny disposition.
Yeah, you do that. Yeah, you maintain that disposition. But
I'll text you every Monday to remind you that I'm at home off while you're at work.
Don't do that. Don't do that at all. No, thank you. I am not looking forward to getting back into that mindset of you have to work for a living to earn money. Aside from this half an hour a day content that I put out for Stadia related stuff, I did joke on Twitter saying it's like a part-time job, and it kind of is in a way. But we're passionate about it. We're looking forward to seeing where the year ahead goes. I think we can all agree we're looking forward to seeing what Stadia actually does this year, because they They have to say something. We've covered it on
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed it's something.
It has to be something. I'm very cautious that the next few weeks are going to be quiet, as they have been in the previous 2 years. I think the gaming industry in general tries to recover and recuperate from the busy end-of-year period. Lots of games, lots of awards.
Well, just like the fact that we've been off work for like basically a week or two, the video games industry has as well. So it's going to take a couple of weeks probably for the gears to wind back up.
Yeah, indeed it is. But we've got plenty to talk about still. So let's start, Richie, with looking back after our time off and just checking out what we've been playing, Stadia or not so Stadia. How about yourself? You've been playing many games or just one game in particular?
A bit of FIFA, but that's just a given, really. That's just FIFA is just what that game. I just occasionally I'll play for like an hour or two and then move on to something else. But it's mainly been Tales of Arise. And I'm getting very close to the end now, and that game is amazing.
How many hours?
If you like, I think about 70.
Okay.
But I think I've been doing the kind of prepping myself to go for the platinum in it. So I haven't just been powering through the main story. I've been doing all the side quests. I've been doing some of the side content. I was telling you before, it does have a fishing trophy. I've almost completed that trophy. And it wasn't too bad, actually. One of the nice things about it, when you usually get a fishing trophy, you sat there just throwing the rod into it and just going through a quick time event.
Yeah.
And hoping you get the right fish. With Tales of Arise, each different fishing spot has a certain list of fish, which you can easily see which ones you've already checked off. And there's a button combination to, as long as you've got the right lure on, you can press a certain button combination, which the game tells you to guarantee that fish that you're after. So it's not a lot of wasted time catching like goldfish when I want a marlin.
Yeah.
I can just go, this is what I need to do to get the marlin on the hook, and then I can worry about like that.
Got on the hook, yeah. We've much grieved over fishing games before, and I always think it's so games need to keep you so involved and interactive.
Yeah.
And yet when you throw the line in, and then you just sit and you're waiting for 5-6 seconds for like it to wiggle or to bite or the water to ruffle. And it's this isn't fun.
Getting the hook on the mini game is like you kind of just like press a button combinations. Either like it's meant to be like a sharp pull, or like a little wiggle or whatever it is. But then you got like a bar and you can see the fish move up the bar. So it's not like you just sat there waiting for like a game to go, oh, and here's a fish, press the button.
A fish.
So it's a bit more involved, but in a good way. So it was like, and because I didn't do any fishing apart from the initial tutorial where I caught one fish and bounced till like really near the end of the game. I've pretty much got all the lures and stuff that I just acquired naturally.
Yeah.
So I wasn't like spending loads of time like, oh, I need to go get this, I need to go get that. I could just like actually enjoy the mechanic.
Brilliant. So plenty of hours in the bag then. Anything on the horizon? What are you looking
at? Well,
no pun intended.
On the horizon, we're looking like potentially Horizon. That's February though. I do have Kingdom Bridge of Spirits I bought just before Christmas when it was on sale.
Yeah.
That's probably going to be the next game I jump into. So I'm hoping by the time I finish Tales of Arise, Kingdom then will be into February and get all the new drops.
Great stuff.
And I've got half an hour maybe Pokemon Shield or Pokemon Sword. But we'll see what time's like.
Yeah, we need. Well, actually, it's funny you should say that because I messaged you during the holidays saying I need to exchange 2 Pokemon because
you did.
You can only evolve them by trading them, and you can trade online. But if you trade online, you've got the risk that the random stranger out there on the internet does not give you your Pokemon back once it's evolved. So I don't trust that. And I messaged you for some reason in my brain. I thought you had it, and you went, I don't.
Because I'm a Pokemon fan.
I mean, yeah, exactly. But one of our other friends did get a Switch for Christmas, Richie, and he did get Sword as well. So we've got some options there. And similar to you. So my Christmas looked like I played some more FIFA. I dove back into some Assassin's Creed games on Stadia as well. I checked out some of the pro games yesterday. Played just the opening bits of Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. It's such Castlevania. It's like such a spiritual successor. Dark Side Detective I'm going to save because I think you and me could have some fun on that one. And my main game I finished Sword and Shield over Christmas. And I then went immediately out and bought Shining Brilliant Diamond. Sorry.
Yeah.
I got that one. And so I've been chipping away at that, which it's so ironic how Pokemon games are just the same. The opening hour or two is just literally rinse and repeat of the same games for the last 30 years.
Well,
and I'm okay with
that. To be fair, Brilliant Diamond is a game that came out like 20 years ago or something, or 10 years ago. It's kind of interesting to watch you go for this Pokemon binge, actually. Because I kind of, during like the XY, like Alpha Sapphire, that's when I really got back into it in a big way. Mm-hmm. And like it's now kind of nice to see you go through that kind of same like arc.
Yeah, because I never had a Game Boy Advance, so I kind of moved on to I think PlayStation 1 at that time. So yeah, it's interesting that they get made in the remake zone, and it's like Pokemon I'm familiar with, and I'm like seeing them going, oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I recognize some of these guys, and there's some of like the really crap ones that you just don't have a clue for. But then obviously Arceus comes out at the end of January. So I'm like, is this going to be like a perfect rolling game where I'm going to finish Brilliant Diamond and then all of a sudden it's going to be like, oh, there's this brand new version out. So
Arceus is one I'm interested in as well because I've talked on either the show or SideQuest before how the direction that the Pokemon main series is going in with things like the always on XP share and like kind of that bit of dumbing down certain elements here and there is stuff I'm not fond of, where Arceus seems to be like taking it in a different the genre in a different direction. Mm-hmm. So it's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, we'll have to see and look into
it. It's one I'm going to wait for reviews. It's not a day one purchase, but if the reviews come out and they're solid, then I'll probably pick it up.
Same for me. And then on the place, I know it's a Stadia podcast, folks, but like I said, it's a quiet month. However, flipping over to other platforms, I've got Kena Bridge of Spirits. I'm about 10 hours into that. I think you're already going to enjoy it, Richie. It's a beautiful game to start with, but the gameplay is just fun to figure out. And then Uncharted Lost Thieves Collection comes out end of the month. And then Horizon end of February, sorry. And then the year's kicked off. Then there's so much coming in the pipeline. So we'll talk about all that in the future, no doubt, alongside some Stadia games. But our viewing listeners out there did have a bunch of pro games to break down and go down. And you weren't here for the last week's episode, so just at a quick glance, Richie, of the pro games we got for January, we had Darksiders 3, Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, Shantae Risky's Revenge, Director's Cut, to be very specific, The Dark Side Detective, A Fumble in the Dark, which is the sequel, and it also came with a special Christmas case file that dropped on Christmas Eve. And I think we joked on the last podcast you were on that just as we were about to buy it for the Christmas DLC, it was announced as coming to Pro for January. So actually it pushed it out of the Christmas window because I was going to wait because it was coming free. And of course, DreamWorks Dragons Dawn of New Riders. So which of these particular titles stood out for you the most?
I think the one that jumped out to me the most is probably Bloodstained Ritual of the Night. I think that seems to be the best received. Mm-hmm. I played Darksiders 2 back in the day a bit, so I do have a bit of a soft spot for the Darksiders franchise, although it was one of them when I played Darksiders 2 is like kind of I enjoyed this and I played for about 20 hours then bounced onto something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But I think Bloodstained is probably I think it's the pick of the bunch for me, but I kind of like that there's a bit of variety in this. Like, I think that's the one thing you can say with Pro is you do get a variety of different games and different styles.
Oh, you certainly do. Absolutely. I think I was just looking at the names there. Do you think there's anyone out there who thinks the Dark Side Detective and Darksiders from the same, like, you're literally 2 letters out from it being the same name?
Probably, yeah.
And buy into it going, oh, there's another Darksiders game there. And it's like a pixel click and point action adventure.
Probably not, the Darkside Detective and Darksiders 3. The only thing they got... Yeah, the Darksiders Detective. It's a crossover event.
Get them all in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The detectives and this pixelated this pixelated detective genre as investigating death and war and pestilence and stuff.
There could be a case file like that. We don't know. We'll have to find out. But yeah, we said myself and Tom last week's show mentioned how Bloodstained. I think we all agreed it looked great when it was announced to come to Stadia. Yeah. And then we were put off by the launch price tag, which I think was about £35.
Yeah.
And then thankfully, then ironically, it's gone pro again. And the best part about having Tom on last week, Richie, was he'd already bought most of these games.
Yeah.
Like classic Classic Tom.
Classic Tom.
Yeah. If you want to know what's coming to Pro in the future, just look at his games library, because if he's bought it, chances are it's coming down the pipeline.
I think with £35 for Bloodstained, I was probably like, that's probably a decent price if you're into the genre. If you just think, I fancy giving it a go, it's a bit steep.
Yeah. So it's here. You've got a list. It was nice to have a list of 5 games again with varied variety. You're not jumping into the DreamWorks Dragons?
No.
Titles? Not for you?
No, not even going to look at it.
Not even going to look at it. I have seen some people over Christmas actually on social media ask about Stadia this year really needs to get their library customization in order, because it's getting to a point where with no filters or folders as such, the list is just going to get like crazy big, because we must have claimed over 100 games now as like individuals.
Yeah, I mean, what I always did with my PS4 was I used to make folders and have different games in different folders, so it kept like my home screen like nice and organised and nice and clean. And that was on a console that had a 1 terabyte hard drive. Yeah. Stadia I've got my entire library there, so I need some way of, whether it's filters or custom folders, some way of just like tidying that up a bit. So I can quickly find the game that I'm looking for, even if it's just a favourites list. So you can just, that would be probably the first thing I bring in, just a favourites list, so I can just star a game, and you can just go to your favourites list and all the games that you started are just there. Yeah, just there to pick through, and just drop in, drop out, remove them. That'd be the first thing I'd do, and then you can start bringing in other more customizable UI features and stuff as you go forward. That seems like the best move. So yeah, January, good month overall. Nothing quite AAA, I would say, but I think it's a good selection to kickstart the year. Yeah, it's a decent selection, nice broad selection. But I can also see it being a month where people are not happy with. But you're going to get that every month. If it doesn't have a big AAA title, then people are going to be upset. Yeah, I mean, I looked at the PlayStation Plus games for January and thought, okay, I'll claim them. I'll add them to my library. You know what? I meant to cancel PlayStation Plus, and then I got a notification saying like I got order renewal. Thank you. Yeah, your order renewal for the year. I was like, well, that's paid for now. For the whole year as well. Yeah. Oh well. That's how they get you. That's how they get you. So let us know, folks, what your favourite Stadia Pro title has been for January. You've had a few days now to play along, get used to, and familiar with them. Let us know in the comments below on YouTube what you think, and hopefully we'll get some more news about new titles and new pro games coming soon. But Richie, before we dive into all that, you may have noticed, or you may have heard on last week's show, that Tom absolutely butchered the introduction to the news. In his stead, clearly you've taken on the mantle of the person to say it. He picked himself up, he was so ironic, and then he messed it up. You know what I found hilarious about that? And I'm sorry, Tom, for this, but the way you were both talking shit about me on the lead up to doing that, and then Tom dropped the ball. He did. That's the rule here, remember. If you're not present, we can take the That is true. In jest, of course. But yes, Richie, if you could introduce us to the super sexy special Stadia story segment, aka the news year. Oh dear, the news year. I guess if you're gonna do it, you got to do it then, right? Yeah, I that was intentionally butchered. Happy New Year. I mean, you got the actual introduction spot on. So yeah, Tom, he's coming for you. He's coming for you, friend. 2 weeks off, and I still nailed it. Still nailed it. Right, let's dig into some of the stories we've got for this week. First up on the list, we have the Stadia Makers Program is still going strong. So this was an article that dropped over on 9 to 5. Google over the Christmas period. Of course, for those unfamiliar with the Stadia Makers Program, it's the cash incentive that Google have running over at Stadia HQ to help support up-and-coming indie developers to bring their games to the platform. We don't really know how that funding is generated or shared out across developers, publishers, and the like. However, yes, the article goes in a little bit detail about saying that we kind of suspected that it may have been shut down. At some point, we got some great games, some of which we've actually just mentioned. We had the Dark Side Detective games come across. We did have the likes of Merrick's Market, Richie, which you've done a fest look of up on the channel. Yep. There was also Grime.
which I did a first look on the channel as well. 100 Days, where you and Tom popped open a bottle of wine and you went and ran your own orchard, which, again, I mentioned before Christmas, but should actually have a direct touch input. I don't know if they actually managed to push it through before Christmas actually happened, but I've not seen anything else on Twitter, so I'd imagine it's imminent or it's still in testing.
Yeah, I haven't checked. I must admit, I've been kind of detached from Twitter for the last 2 weeks, so I haven't seen much.
That's the point. That's why it's a Christmas break. And Sky Climbers, we know, is coming out in the following year in a beta period. I think that was announced as well, so look out for that shortly. But yes, there was our friend Lee from Stadia Source mentioned over on Twitter that it was not offering funding any longer. So Google didn't explicitly confirm if any changes were made to the program or if any direct funding was required, but they did say the company is working on new ways for developers to get unique value from the program. So we know direct from Google, Acapara Games, who've worked with the Stadia Makers program, they said, and I quote, "After being accepted into the Makers program, we worked to launch 2 of our titles into Stadia Pro, both Grime and The Dark Side Detective. Despite being polar opposite titles in terms of content and genre, both performed well in terms of finances and player reception. Stadia Pro seems to benefit a wide variety of titles regardless of style or replayability." So there's not much news here, which again, it is January, but I guess 2022 for the Stadia Makers program, as we creep towards GDC this year in Stadia, it may be, hopefully it's going to be in person this year. Hopefully Stadia and Google are going to be able to get their squads out, their teams, and start planting the seeds for the year ahead for all these indie games, because we know, and Stadia knows, Nintendo knows, and the success of the PlayStation 4 in those early months definitely knows that actually the indie titles prop up your platform in the quieter months when you don't have big hitters to drop. And I think Stadia, especially with Stadia Pro, has been very reliant on indie games.
Yeah.
So what does 2022 look like for you, Richie, with the Stadia Makers program? Do they sack it off? Do they can it all? Or do they have to reinvest and double down on getting newer, smaller titles on board?
I think there seems to be mixed messaging here. In this article, in some ways, like, it's been reported that it's done, it's been shuttered almost. In other ways, like Google responding saying it's still active and there's multiple games in development. Mm-hmm. These are not mutually exclusive. It could be a case of, yeah, it's still active, we're still working through some games, but there might not be funding available for new games going forward. So it's hard to know, but I hope they're kind of just looking at the Stadia Makers program going, was this a success, was this a failure, after about a year? It's probably been alive for about a year, going, and then maybe refining it. And I hope that they come out swing it at GDC. I think GDC this year could be huge for Stadia.
Yeah.
If they've got the ducks in a row and they are committed to the platform, GDC could be awesome for them, especially if it's in person, because things like the Stadia Makers program, and it's a good place to go. It's the Game Developers Conference. This is where it's not for us, it's for the game developers themselves and the publishers and the platform holders to meet and get together. So if Google come and have a keynote speech and talk about Google Stadia, the technology, how it's changed over the last 2 years, and talk about things like Stadia Makers program, it could be really kind of a relaunch point for Stadia.
Yeah.
And Stadia Makers, I think, could be an awesome part of that, because I think it generally was well praised when it came out. It's like, this is a way of helping indie developers get funding and to bring games to the platform. For us, that's just a win.
Yeah, completely. And we've got to remember, GDC is where it all kicked off. It's where Mr. Harrison got on stage and announced what Stadia was, and now they do have over 2 years under their belt, and obviously much more in development, because you've got to think of all the time that existed prior to public launch. And the quotes here from Acapara Games are clearly showing that actually Pro works and the Stadia Makers program works. And we've heard from the guys over at Sky Climbers as well that they've been really helpful in getting the game set up for an alpha beta launch. My concern comes with the fact that we don't know of any newer titles. So all the games and all the titles we're talking about, they're either already out or they're imminent in the next, say, 5 to 6 months.
Yeah, but We know
what does that
Stadia
mean?
don't. We know Stadia don't announce games. They announce a slate of games when they announced the Stadia Makers program, but I don't think they've really announced much since.
Exactly.
That might just be a case of this is Google not announcing things.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't. See, this is the problem when they don't announce stuff. It's hard to read it too much into stuff like that because, well, they don't announce when AAA titles are coming in advance. So why would they announce a small game going through their Stadia Makers program?
Yeah. It's the weird imbalance that they find themselves in with marketing and like
it makes it very hard to get a read on them because this could be a case of they're just holding things back. And maybe they're planning something like a Stadia Makers Connect or something like, you know how the Nintendo do their indie showcases.
Yeah.
That'd be something great for Stadia Makers if they did that maybe say twice a year and went, here's a look at all the new games coming to Stadia Makers. Mm-hmm. That would be an awesome thing to do.
Well, yeah, when you look at the industry as a whole, I would definitely say the focus to indie titles has been massively boosted by the fact that the world has gone digital. So all those events that would have been usually on like a stage show, and the indie games would have maybe only got like 10% of the limelight in between all these big AAA now. I mean, just look at the Game Awards for World Premiere. They don't showcase indie games very well. However, the pivot to digital showcases, online YouTube drops and stuff. We look at like Thunderful Games and the indie showcase event that's hosted every summer now, and some of the little things that Kind of Funny have done, like these smaller teams. Digital showcases where they spend a dedicated 10-15 minutes on indie titles upcoming for the future. I would love Stadia to come out this year and say, GDC, we're working with smaller teams to give you a budget to help support you, to help you actively develop in the cloud, and we're going to host an Indie Connect every, like you said, Richie, every quarter or every half a year. To just show what's coming.
Yeah.
And that'd be beautiful to see. So keep it separate from the big stuff. Not that you're talking about the big stuff either. But just something to drip feed content of what's coming in the future. Because indie games, they don't pop out some little gems every now and again.
Yeah, you look at things like Celeste, It Takes Two, like Kena Bridge of Spirits. These are some over the last couple of years. These have been some of the most some of these are the most revered games in the last 5 years.
Some memories, certainly,
and all indies. This is why I like having indie showcases separate to like the big AAA stuff. Because in the big AAA, something like an E3 press conference, say it's a Microsoft conference, the indies are kind of there to fill up the middle of the showcase between the big tentpole titles that people are actually excited to see. Where if you just do an indie showcase, everyone's coming in an even playing field. So everyone gets usually about equal time and equal chance to showcase what they're about. And they don't have to be worried about, well, we've got this new cool 2D Metroidvania style RPG that is going to be showcased just before God of War Ragnarok.
Yeah. So then everybody forgets about what the game is, it's because you do need kind of because an indie game can either totally explode or it can just go under the radar and nobody has a clue about it other than maybe through word of mouth or you pick it up on a Pro or a PlayStation Plus game. But yeah, even just looking back at the likes of like Fall Guys and Rocket League, like they exploded because of the user base they got immediately from PlayStation recognizing they had a good game on their hands and just they like Among Us is another one. Like Among Us is one of the simplest games in existence, and yet it garnered such a buzz and a fan base.
Among Us is very much a pandemic game because it was a way of interacting with friends and family. It's like the same reason that Animal Crossing exploded. It was a way interacting with friends and family that was lacking.
Yeah.
So people gravitated towards these sort of games.
Yeah.
A bit more.
And they've all benefited from being spoke about. So that's what brings me kind of full circle back around to the Stadia Makers program. And I just think it would be another shame to think almost a year ago we had the Stadia Games and Entertainment closed down. Okay, you're not focusing on your own AAA exclusives. So where is that funding going? You can't tell me you can't siphon off $10 million to give to indie developers. Like $10 million could be spent on so many indie games. Like the guys who did Merrick's Market or Sky Climbers Upcoming or Darkside Detective. Like those games are so infinitely smaller. I mean, just look at the Falconeer. It was one guy. So if you've got a pot of 10 million set aside, you could spread that wealth across so many little indie developers, individuals and small teams and just bring them all, but I can't even imagine what small of a check you'd have to write in comparison. Like 10 million for your Resident Evil games. How many indie games would 10 million get Stadia to port? Like, you can't tell me an indie developer's not going to take, like, what, a $5,000 check to work on porting a game across, or 10 grand maybe, or even less.
Yeah. And they've also got the new features on Stadia where developers can almost create their own instance. I can't remember what they call it. Like an own instance where they can invite people to play that, like an alpha or beta build of the game.
Yeah, yeah.
And have it as a gated like area, so they can like beta and alpha test stuff, or give early access to certain prominent Google Stadia content creators, maybe.
Wink, wink. And I just think that's why, like, they need to commit. Like, if anything, if they're not going to commit to their own exclusives, just at least commit to something this year. Like, come out and tell us that, yes, we are a massive fan of indies. Let's face it, it props up their pro library more than anything.
I think we're kind of agreed at the end of last year. What we need to see from Google this year is a commitment to Stadia.
Yeah.
We just need to see that commitment. Whatever the format may take, I think Stadia Makers is definitely part of it. Getting more AAAs, marketing the platform, all these things, just show that. Google need to show this year that they still back Stadia to become something.
Yeah, indeed. Let's actually get a date for. So GDC this year is San Francisco, so it looks like it's in person. Yeah. March 21st and 25th. So yeah, just over 3 months away now. Hopefully,
it's a good time for it.
It is, yeah. It's it'll be the first time it'll have been in person for quite some time. But yeah, let's see if they've got any news. Yeah, they've got. We'll talk about it at a later time. See what they're actually coming up towards. We've also got the DICE Awards, which I don't think Stadia will have any involvement in, coming up soon. Yeah. But in just terms of a showcase, I think it could be the first time this year they actively talk to the community.
Yeah.
Albeit that's through a developer-specific conference. We know we're going to cover it. We know Cloudy, Stadia Source, any news that comes, we are hungry for it. So,
I think GDC could be very important for Stadia because I think probably even from developer circles, like the buzz around Stadia is gone. Stadia's not this exciting new tech off in the horizon that you could see changing the way people interact with the games anymore. It's here.
Yeah, your sales pitch now needs to be different.
It's here, and it's been here for 2 years. You now need to go back to the developers and go, this is why you should continue to work with us, or this is why you should be working with us.
Yeah, completely agree.
Unfortunately, they're pitching that against a lackluster 2021 and basically a small player base. So they need to get the developers excited somehow.
Yeah, and usually a checkbook helps with that.
A checkbook will help.
Checkbook, especially if you're a smaller, because again, as an indie developer, that could be make or break for your career in gaming if you can get funding. Because if Google give you a big enough check, not only does that, yes, it might port the game to Stadia, that might not be important to you, but the extra 10 grand in the bank might fund your next title.
Yeah,
which is what, as an indie developer, that's what you're looking for. You don't have shareholders, you don't have a guaranteed revenue stream, you don't have a battle royale pumping millions and millions into you every single week. You are literally game to game, depending on your continued success.
And despite Stadia having a relatively small player base compared to other platforms, it also has a smaller library, which means there's more. If your game launches, if an indie game launches on PlayStation, a lot of times people don't even notice. In any game that launches on Stadia, the Stadia community notices.
Yeah.
Because we don't get it anywhere near as much, so we'll see it, and especially if it launches on Pro, then people are going to more likely to play it, and when people play it, they get revenue, and also get reputation. So the Stadia could be, maybe indies needs to be the focus for Stadia for a bit.
Well, and the turnaround time can sometimes be a little bit quicker because they are naturally smaller titles. So obviously sometimes there's less people working on it, so it takes longer, but at the same time, it's less graphic intense, and you're not going to get something like Kena Bridge of Spirits every single time. But the turnaround could be quicker. So time will tell. GDC is not too far away. Some news that did drop throughout the course of the Christmas period as well was some interesting stuff from Tencent. And we've brought Tencent up a couple of times on this show. purely because of their connections to developers and publishers that are already on the platform.
They own a part of everyone.
It feels that way sometimes. So yes, so Remedy Entertainment put out a statement over the Christmas period saying they are working with Tencent. They've signed a global development license and distribution agreement with them for the cooperative multiplayer game codenamed Vanguard. So they're basically just kind of putting out their focus on what this is going to be. So reading from their statement, the game codenamed Vanguard, Remedy's original intellectual property, is a free-to-play cooperative PvE shooter that combines Remedy's narrative expertise and action gameplay into an immersive multiplayer experience. The game is developed in Unreal Engine for PC and console platforms. Remedy will develop and publish the game worldwide, except certain markets, blah blah blah, Tencent. It's currently only in proof of phase concept, but this kind of just pushes us on to talking about Tencent in the gaming industry, and I think just a general conversation about what impact can this have on Stadia. But my biggest question, almost, Richie, to kind of counter Tencent, I know sometimes we give them shit because they're a Chinese company, and all human rights issues aside, they're buying into
human rights issues
yeah.
and censorship rules and stuff very different to what we used to in the West. And the concern is that a company like Tencent may start forcing developers that they own part of to conform to Chinese standards rather than European or American standards. I mean, that's where the concern comes from.
Yeah, I mean, even in that statement saying that where Tencent already has localized and published games in Asian markets, they won't develop or publish the game for that release. So it's almost like the versions that are going to come out in different parts of the world will be different to some degree. But that aside, the reason I want to focus on it is twofold. Is one, they already outright own the companies that do League of Legends, which is Riot Games, Splash Damage, Outcasters, they acquired them. And they already have, as you mentioned, they have shares in Epic Games, Activision Blizzard, Ubisoft.
I told you they owned everyone.
Remedy, as we're talking about now. Frontier, the Planet Coaster, Jurassic World guys. Don't Nod, Life is Strange dev teams. Bloober Team, who are working on the new Silent Hill horror thing, I believe. Playtonic, who I think are the guys who did Ukulele, if memory serves me right. And the Roblox Corporation as well. So all the kids out there are enjoying their Robloxes. Same thing. And that kind of got me thinking, is this a potential avenue that Google could explore? So we know the first party things didn't work out. They canned that very, very quickly. We've just spent a good while discussing indie developers and being at GDC with the Stadia Makers program. Is just buying up shares in these companies a potential move for Google in terms of, if you have shares in a company like Remedy, does that not mean the port to Stadia could be more likely? Because you have a say in surely what the direction of the company in focus to cloud gaming, just by having like maybe 5% of the shares.
There's a couple of problems with that. Google are always getting dragged into courts for like trying to create, similar to Apple, trying to create monopolies and stuff. Yeah. Buying parts of every gaming company out there isn't a good look. This is why people get. Like when the Tencent comes up, like people get back. Okay, Tencent are getting invested in this now as well, and I think the gaming industry, any creative medium, is better when there's more people have the funds. This is the problem. It's that balance between creativity and funding with any sort of creative thing. You have to enable creativity, enable people to go do what they need to do, but it also has to have a return on investment. So this is the weird duality between like business and creativity, and I think Google doing it would not be well received if Google started buying small fractions of every gaming company out there. Yeah,
because we know they want to be. They're totally committed to gaming.
Yeah.
We've seen it with the Google Play Store at the Game Awards. We've seen it with obviously the launch of Stadia itself. We know they've got YouTube gaming, and they're buying up all these big streamers from Twitch by signing very, very big paychecks, by the way. All these streamers they sign on for like YouTube exclusivity for millions and millions. Imagine if that funding went towards the aforementioned Stadia Makers program or indie devs.
The weird thing with Google, though, is they don't seem to work as one massive entity, all pulling in the same direction. They work as seemingly work as a bunch of smaller companies, which can be very good in a lot of ways, But it means that what Google Play is doing and what YouTube are doing and what Stadia is doing, they're not synced.
Yeah.
They're not pulling in the same direction. Like the Game Awards, they came under a bit of bother because it was Google Play.
Yeah.
It should have been Stadia.
Yeah, it was the sad irony that your representation of gaming totally ignored your gaming platform. I mean, Google Play
exactly.
is a gaming platform, but you know it's not ideally a premium AAA gaming platform.
But yeah, I also think as well is if they wanted to go down this route, they shouldn't have closed Stadia Games and Entertainment. They should have repurposed it. So then Stadia Games and Entertainment and their internal studios that they owned could have become these porting studios. So let's say they own, for example, to a share of EA, and part of that deal is that they have the ability to port any similar to what Tencent are doing here with Remedy's game, where where Remedy publish wherever they want, apart from in certain Asian markets, which are difficult for them to publish in for various different political reasons. So Tencent, well, they're going to go, okay, what we'll do is we'll publish a game there. We'll change the game in a way that it can be published there, and that'll change the revenue structure. Yeah. Something like that could have worked, and Stadia Games and Entertainment couldn't have been the vehicle for it.
Yeah.
But they closed them studios.
Yeah. There's so many caveats to when we reflect and look back, and we know it's not even been 12 months yet, but the decision, again, it's so... I think that was why it was such a kind of the wind took out of the sails of the platform for the rest of the 2021. Because, you're completely right. Those studios, albeit they weren't going to make exclusive content, you still had 150 plus people of game developers who were good at their jobs. Yeah. You had the entirety of Typhoon Studios who made Journey to the Savage Planet. Like, what's to say you couldn't have went to EA, as you mentioned, and said, we'll port Apex Legends for you, we'll get Typhoon to work on it. We know it's not their bread and butter, but they are game devs. Give us the source code, we'll work with you.
We're fronting the money, so it's not cost to you.
We have
the
studio.
We'll pay up the front. We'll pay the upfront cost to get it over. Our studio will take care of helping patch to Stadia, and therefore, this will be the revenue split. That is something they could have done.
Yeah, we have teams dedicated to Stadia that literally work for Team Stadia to do that. And I think we said many months ago now that actually Stadia should look at just acquiring... I think it was probably when the Resident Evil news dropped.
They should just acquire Tencent.
I mean...
Just go buy Tencent.
But in terms of, just having some studios dedicated to porting games, even if they only run for the next 4 or 5 years, but then, like you said, lease them out to... Go to Warner Brothers and say, can we bring X games across? Go to 2K and say, we know you're focusing on Grand Theft Auto Online. Could we help you port the old Red Dead Redemption across? Or GTA 5 or whatever, or help out with the remasters that never came. What can we possibly do to help facilitate the transition to Stadia better?
I think that's the right word. It would have facilitated it. It would have, and I think it's something that they probably should have done before Stadia launched. If they started buying small parts or entire smaller studios under the Google Games and Entertainment brand, before Stadia launched, even before that it was even announced, so they're kind of laying the foundations for the step into the video game industry. So when they launch Stadia, they already have these studios. They've already been working quietly on the back end of porting games themselves.
Yeah.
So things like a Ubisoft or Bethesda or EA or Activision, they're not spending money, time, and resources porting to a platform that's unproven.
Yeah. Because
Google are taking care of that themselves. So it's just you port it over and we get money. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Deal.
Yeah.
Why not?
Yeah, Google should buy Tencent.
Yeah, I think that one might not happen, but it's interesting
Tencent,
to look at.
They're too big.
Just to think, the kind of crux of this whole story was, again, Tencent have just acquired the Turtle Rock Studios. So these are the guys who did recently Back 4 Blood, the spiritual successor to Left 4 Dead. They're also famous for the... I can't remember the name all of a sudden. The game that totally bombed. It was the 3 isometric... Evolve. Was it Evolve? Yeah. Where there was one monster hunting 3 other players. And it was kind of Predator, and that dropped off massively. But then they came back with Back 4 Blood, and they've acquired them today as well. So like fully acquired another studio, and it just makes me think like, yes, Google wouldn't like it, but I guarantee you a lot of the gaming industry would prefer Google to acquire Turtle Rock Studios rather than a Chinese conglomerate.
It's weird because Google in that kind of place in the tech industry where there's a lot of people like really appreciative of what Google have brought, but then there's also a lot of concerns over Google's size and data, and they have a very mixed reputation, like any big tech company out there.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of people in the gaming industry, if Google just started buying every studio that was available, like similar to what Microsoft are doing and what Sony have done in the past and what Tencent are doing and what Koch Media are doing, I think there would have been quite a bit of backlash because it's Google doing it.
Would it have been any worse backlash than shutting your own studios, though?
Oh, no. Well,
so it's like kind of
no.
stick with the devil in like which at least if you acquire them you get a bit of flack, but then at the end of the day you've got your own studios to put out games.
It's flack that they probably need to take, and it depends how aggressive you go about it. If they go to as aggressive like Tencent or Koch Media, that looks a lot more problematic. If you're just slowly picking up stuff over time.
Mm-hmm.
I think the speed of acquisitions can actually change the perception of it.
Yeah. It's an interesting one, but we'll certainly keep an eye on it. We'll be keeping an eye on Tencent because of course these relationships are always in flux, and the more shares they own, the more companies they own, it does beg the question whether future games will come. So we don't have, of course, Back 4 Blood on Stadia. However, Tencent, who now work with Remedy on deals which we've got control on Stadia, I'm always just interested how the chess pieces are moved every time things like this happen. Like, can now Google go to Tencent and say, could we get a Back 4 Blood part over to Stadia or whatever Turtle Rock's new game is? Because you're no longer beholden to the old guard of rules because you've just been bought by a totally different company. So
Google and Tencent are going to be a weird relationship because with Tencent being a Chinese company, I'd have to look whether actually there's any Chinese state ownership, but there probably is.
Oh, I'm pretty sure Tencent is state owned to a degree.
And Google is entirely banned in China. Alphabet does not exist in China. So I don't think there's much relationship between Google and Tencent. And that would be a very difficult relationship to actually foster. Because, I mean, Tencent seems to be, what they're focused on is bringing games to China.
Tell you what, it's worth a lot of money, Richie. Tencent have 4% shares in Tesla as well.
They own everything. Like, they own a small amount of everything.
It's so weird how it only goes one way, though. It seems
this is why people get worried about them, because that 4% share is a small cut, but then over time that could grow, and eventually Tencent own the world. There'll be Tencent, Google, and Apple, and Disney will own everything.
Yeah, I know WeChat is kind of their equivalent to WhatsApp, and as it stands, they've got like 1.2 billion active users. So that like the sheer no wonder video games bow to the pressures of. There's a great South Park episode on this kind of thing actually. If you go and check it out, where it basically I think is it Stan's dad goes over to try and sell weed.
Randy and Mickey.
Yeah, and it's kind of the same thing where you don't poo Winnie the Pooh. It kind of just it takes a satire look at the kind of situation they're all in, but. Again, money talks, doesn't it, when it comes to this kind of thing? Which is a sad, like I said, it's for better or for worse. It's a scary thing to look at. But let's pivot away from this, Richie. We will keep an eye on it. I'm sure there's going to be more games companies acquired or picked up. Hell, they might even buy Stadia one day, just so they'll go, you know what, Google? It clearly didn't work out.
We'll buy the tech. It'd be Tencent's cloud gaming platform.
Tencent Gaming. Would we do a podcast? What would you call a Tencent cloud gaming podcast, Richie? Let's copyright it right now, right here.
I don't know.
Talking Tencent?
Something like that, yeah.
We'll see. Depending on what the brand has. There'll probably be WeChat, WeGame.
Yeah.
And then they'll have a lawsuit with Nintendo for Wii games, something like that.
Yeah. We'll
have to wait and see. Let's have a look at some of the final stories for the news this week. FIFA 22, a little bit of a UK joke one here. We always go big in the UK about Christmas number one. Well, actually, we don't. It used to be a big thing. No. It's kind of been watered down thanks to the X Factor and Britain's Got Talent.
It tries to, radio stations still try to cram it down your face where everyone else is like, I don't care. You're only on because I'm at work.
Yeah, it used to mean something, I think, back in the day before streaming and such, where like sales figures and numbers meant something. But I even think this year's winner was a guy called Lad Baby, and it was like, to be fair, it was for charity, so I'd much rather the winner goes to like raise money for good causes. But he took the 4th Christmas #1 in a row, which was like beating out the Beatles and Spice, like actual famed artists and musicians, to the record for the most Christmas #1s, which is such a quiz question.
Well,
but yes.
The fact that you dropped Beatles and Spice Girls in the Christmas #1 for 2021 shows you how much people don't care about it.
He didn't beat them for Christmas #1. He beat them for the most Christmas #1s of all time.
Oh, right. I was going to say, is this like literally, are they just suddenly spiked up? Like,
no, interest in Spice Girls and the Beatles. No. He's got 4 #1s now, which was more than their 3, Spice Girls and Beatles.
And I've never even heard of them, so.
Well, it's a husband and wife combo. But either way, you can go research it if you want to.
Yeah.
The reason I bring it up is because the Christmas #1, based on physical sales for games in the UK, was FIFA 22. So football came home for Christmas. And it actually scored Christmas #1, so best-selling game heading into the Christmas period, which I thought was interesting.
Well, a game like FIFA is always going to have a slight advantage over Christmas because there's a lot of new consoles getting sold, especially with the console shortages.
Yeah.
A lot of new people finally getting their hands on the PlayStations and Xboxes this year after a year of not being able to get them.
Mm-hmm.
And FIFA is one of them games that it almost by default comes as a bundle. Like, you get a PlayStation, you'll get FIFA and another game. In the UK, that's usually how it goes. So it's like...
That's very true.
It's also always one of the biggest games of the year in the UK, so...
Football's huge over here, isn't it? So I did want to look back, though, very briefly, as we go into 2022, at the kind of games in yesteryear and see who's been #1. So going all the way back, Richie, to when the charts began, the video game Christmas #1... Physical sales alone, we should point out, where it's interesting to see where cloud gaming kind of sits in this world, of like Xbox and Game Pass, and the numbers are very much skewed now than there ever has been. I don't think you're ever going to get an accurate sales figure now, but it's interesting to look at trends and how they focus. So
you can, but then the developer, the platform holders have to launch them numbers, which some of them are quite tight on.
Exactly. So going back to, we'll take the clock back to Christmas of 1984, Richie. Christmas #1. Do you have the list by any chance or not?
Yeah, I've got it in front of me.
Okay, I was going to let you guess then. From Activision, we had Ghostbusters. 1984, Christmas #1 was Ghostbusters.
My favourite is 2000.
Let's see. I was going to go. So if you haven't heard of these, let's see. So 85 was Commando. I'm guessing it's based on the movie.
Probably, yeah.
Probably. Then 86 is Gauntlet. 87 is Outrun. Now, I did have Outrun on the Sega Mega Drive, so I do remember Outrun. 88 was Operation Wolf. Never heard of it. 89, Chase HQ. Never heard of it. 1990, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, or Hero Turtles, sorry, should get that right. Side-scrolling fighting game. Then it moved on. 91 was WWF WrestleMania. 92, Sonic the Hedgehog.
Awesome game.
Awesome game.
Sonic
Hedgehog 2. Yeah, get that one right. And then just let's have a look. Then FIFA came out, started being a thing. So 93, 94, 95, 96 and 97 were all FIFA varieties of soccer, football, international, or the World Cup title. Zelda Ocarina of Time in 98. Tomb Raider 4 in 99, The Last Revelation. Who Wants to Be a Millionaire in the year 2000. Wow, the best-selling game for Christmas was Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I had that on PlayStation 1, and I actually have memories on the Millennium, so I'll have been 10-year-old, right? Spending the earlier part of the New Year's Eve party where all the adults were downstairs having drinks, all the kids were upstairs playing Who Wants to Be a Millionaire and 007, I want to say it was Nightfire, was the game, so it was a combination of those two on disc. But yeah,
I mean, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was a huge thing in the UK in the early 2000s. So
yeah, who knew? Then 2001, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Not a bad game.
No, 2002.
They should remake them games.
Well,
not remake them games,
but
redo them
tell the
completely
story
from tell the stories. Because I think there's good games in there.
Oh, there has to be, doesn't it? I mean, we've got Hogwarts Legacy, so we'll see what that looks like. Moving on through the list, 2002 was GTA Vice City. 2003, Medal of Honor Rising Sun. 2004 and 5, back-to-back years, for Need for Speed Underground 2. Such a good game. And then followed with Most Wanted. I actually remember playing those. Now I'm looking at these lists. I've got distinct Christmas memories of these titles, like getting them as a Christmas present, and then spending time with my brother in the old.
These are probably the games that like going into Christmas that we were most hyped to get our hands on.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a child, obviously, you are limited to. You have to wait for usually your birthday or Christmas. So I have very fond memories of a lot of the titles on this list. 06, back to FIFA 07. 2007, Call of Duty 4 Modern Warfare. So that's the Modern Warfare kicking off. Then it hands back to FIFA 09, and then it goes back to Modern Warfare 2. Then it goes to Call of Duty Black Ops for 2010. So we start to see Call of Duty really, really upping its game and increasing in popularity.
Oh, we're about to get into the Call of Duty block.
Oh yeah. Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim was the most popular in 2011. Then back to Call of Duty Black Ops 2. FIFA jumps back in there, scores another goal in 2013 with FIFA 14. Then we hit the Call of Duty block, Richie, with Advanced Warfare, Black Ops 3, Infinite Warfare, and World War 2, taking us right through 2014 to 2017. So a solid 4-year run of Christmas number ones there for Activision and Call of Duty.
Yeah.
Rockstar then take away the title in 2018 with Red Dead Redemption 2. 2019 was Modern Warfare. And then 2020, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, which must be Ubisoft's first ever game, landing Christmas number 1. So shout out to Valhalla taking the podium.
That's probably because it's set in the UK.
Maybe. Yeah, that's actually a good point. That maybe
it was set in England. Yeah. So like, this is a UK top number 1. So
exactly, that's true. And then to round things out, as mentioned at the beginning of the story, we had this current past Christmas, FIFA 22. So, solid mix of FIFA titles scattered throughout the decades. Solid showing for Call of Duty. I think they're the two front runners. And yeah, so from Ghostbusters, Richie, in 84, all the way to FIFA 22. Some good memories there. Some good memories indeed. What's spent...
And a lot of Call of Duty.
And yeah, we've got EA, Electronic Arts spending the most weeks, 13, followed by Activision with 10. So, EA and FIFA seems to be pipping the Christmas number 1. Not that it really means anything, but good to know the Christmas number 1 was available on Google Stadia. And it's still one of those titles that I just go back to every now and again.
Yeah, well, I think that is FIFA. Like, I think when people outside of who wouldn't describe themselves as gamers think of gaming, I think probably Call of Duty and FIFA are probably the two games that come to the mind first.
Yeah, and I'm sure it goes the same for other countries. I think probably in the States you've got either Madden and Call of Duty or NBA and it's always like a sports game and then insert your other franchise.
Call of Duty plus sports game relevant to what region you're in.
Yeah, plus regional sports game. And it's great to see Christmas 1. Some little fun bits to talk about there. Rounding out some of our news stories for the week, Richie, we've got a rumour that has leaked suggesting that Marvel's Avengers, of course, following hot on the heels of the successful Spider-Man that came out on PlayStation exclusive and just got nothing but shit. Apparently the rumour is that She-Hulk is going to be next. So it was teased over on Twitter by an insider who, before you question it, he actually got the leak of Christopher Judge being involved in the Black Panther DLC, correct? Because that was the last big drop for everybody who didn't own a PlayStation. He wrote that the American actress Krisa Bejos has signed on to voice Jennifer Walters, the green-skinned alter ego of She-Hulk, which of course wouldn't be much to talk about to begin with. However, she's since retweeted the post with a green heart emoji, basically confirming the news. So the same person who's going to voice her in many, many other things. It's going to be most likely free content. It's a new character added to the brawler, and it's kind of good timing because the Disney Plus She-Hulk show is also on the horizon some point in early 2022, probably springtime. So as far as Marvel's Avengers goes, Richie, they're going to keep chipping away with this game into 2022, it looks like. Thicken out the roster. Do you know anything about She-Hulk?
Basically, no. I just don't know how they're making money in this game, because I was just scrolling down through the comments as you were talking, and someone said on the Steam concurrent playlist they're under 1,000. There's a couple of hundred people playing this game, And that just goes to show you. I mean, that's only Steam and whatever time zone he was on, but that kind of shows you where this game is at the moment. And I think this edition does absolutely nothing to change anything about the problems with the game. The problems with the game, for me, has been the same now as they were day one. After you finish this like story content, there's no purpose to the game.
What do you do?
What do you do? Why do I continue to grind? Why am I going out and grinding and leveling up my characters? What is the purpose behind that? And that is something from a basic design concept they've just never answered. So that's why we'll have fun when they bring out a new character, go through the new story, but then we won't touch it again for months on end. Yeah. So it doesn't keep people engaged. No doubt there'll be a spike of users
definitely.
when she comes out for like a week or two.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if it just went free to play at some point throughout this
year.
But
then how do they make money out of it?
Cosmetics. It's got to be cosmetics. Like with more stuff, but I don't know anything about She-Hulk. It's one of those things where it's getting a Disney Plus show.
I think she's Bruce Banner's cousin or something like that, and there's stuff like that. I don't know. It's weird.
I mean, looking at just a quick Wikipedia thing, it says Festive appeared in the Savage She-Hulk comic book number 1 from February 1980. Jennifer Walters is a lawyer who, after an injury, received emergency blood transfusion from her cousin Bruce Banner and acquired a milder version of his Hulk condition. First question, how do they get the needle in the Hulk to get the blood transfusion?
Don't they get it in Bruce?
But as soon as you stab him, does he not... Does that not... The
probably not. If he's... I mean, like in the MCU, he's kind of got his transformation under control to a certain extent.
But he also said he put a gun in his mouth and tried to end it, and he spat the bullet back out. So I feel like an injection would be the same, right?
Well, not really, because one's like taking some blood for transfusion. The other's trying to kill yourself.
I thought his skin was impenetrable, maybe. Either way, out there, get your vaccinations, kids. They're important. As such, Walters becomes a large, powerful, green-hued version of herself. However, unlike Banner, she largely retains her personality. In particular, she retains the majority of her intelligence and emotional control. Although, like Hulk, she still is susceptible to outbursts of anger and becomes stronger when enraged. So, she's part of the Avengers at some point, Fantastic Four, Heroes for Hire, the Defenders, S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Fantastic Four. So, Disney Plus show... probably going to populate and cross-pollinate with the other shows as we've seen them do now. I know nothing about it, so I'm actually intrigued just to see how this... I'm guessing the TV show means Mark Ruffalo is going to reprise his role in it. You can't really have a blood transfusion from Bruce Banner if you ain't got Bruce Banner in the show at all. Otherwise, they're just going to skip her origin. So,
that's what Disney are doing at the moment. They're using established characters to help introduce new ones.
Oh, they've been doing it for years now. It's a tried and tested formula. But Marvel's Avengers keeps ticking over, whatever that looks like. I still enjoy it. I'll definitely check out She-Hulk when she arrives on the platform. And I wouldn't be surprised if it went free to play. But time will tell, Richie. Time will tell. I'm still under the impression we'll get a Spider-Man equivalent soon to kind of make up for the exclusivity. Whether that's like...
I don't.
Spider... we'll see.
I don't think the game's big enough for them to care about trying to like balance the playing field. It's just the numbers just aren't there. I'll
tell you how they can fix it, Rich. You asked the question, how do they make money from this game? And that brings us to our final story for the week. They'll introduce NFTs, Richie. That's what they'll do. Avengers NFTs, own unique comic book art based on the game, based on the movies, based on the shows, based on the Avengers.
Yeah, I mean, you get a lot of more active players. Well, you get a lot more of active bots.
Active bots buying shit up. So, final story of the week, pivoting over to Ubisoft. We gave them crap for introducing their Ubisoft Quartz points, which is essentially digital in-game items you can buy and sell on in a virtual marketplace. And there was a story that dropped just over Christmas, and I just wanted to highlight it for the week. The Apex Legends senior artist, Liz Edwards, appears to have sold a grand total of 15 NFTs for this. So at the time of... The article's actually a little bit older, 21st of November. This is how they're looking. So bear in mind they can only be bought and traded currently through Ubisoft, so the market might not be there for third-party sales, which is kind of how NFTs survive. It's people buying across various different things.
Yeah.
Total to probably just short of $2,000 worth of real-time money has been exchanged with Ubisoft NFTs. They did pull the video from the YouTube channel for NFTs, and obviously the gaming industry as a whole has probably just given them so much crap for it. And it's only in beta, but I don't think it's took off as well as they'd probably have hoped.
Well, no, because again, I joke saying like, yeah, you get. I think the thing is, gamers don't really want NFTs. Well, some do, some don't. But the problem with NFTs is you get a lot of bot farming, regardless of whether it's in a game or just a random thing. So when you're putting NFTs into multiplayer games, what you're doing is you won't be, when you're matchmaking, you won't be matchmaking with other people who want to play the game. You'll be matchmaking with bots who are there to farm specific NFTs so that whoever put the bot in there can sell them to make money. So you're not playing with other gamers, you're playing with people who just want to exploit the game to make some quick cash. This is why I don't like NFTs in video games. If you like NFTs outside them, more power to you. I don't care. But when they come into my hobby, I think it could be almost certainly a destructive presence.
Yeah.
And that's why I think, I know the numbers are a bit skewed here because they do say the grand total of 15 NFTs have been have been sold between their two marketplaces. But Ubisoft have been giving away loads for free, so it might be still ramping up.
Yeah, if everything's been given out for free to kind of kickstart the program, nobody's going to be trading.
It seems like NFT traders haven't really sunk the teeth into this yet.
Yeah.
So that might still happen. It might be a lot of people like sat there with the cash being a bit standoffish. It might explode for them. I hope it doesn't.
Yeah.
I hope it dies a death. I hope it dies a death. I hope it dies a quick death. And Ubisoft realise, as I said before, last time we talked about NFTs, if you want to make more money, Ubisoft, make better games. Just make better games
of making games and money. But yeah, I don't think they're going to go away because there's money to be made and it's a business. So
no, I think like the way like things like DLC and cosmetic, especially cosmetic DLC, basically came into every single game in existence. With both free versions and paid versions, I think NFTs are the natural evolution of that. I think it will eventually populate the entire gaming industry for the detriment of the industry.
Unfortunately, I think you're right. And with that, Richie, that brings us to an end of episode 119 of the Sounds of Stadia podcast. But before we wrap up, I would like to get a little bit of an insight into your games of the year, because we weren't here when we intended to do our Game of the Year special, and thankfully again Tom was here to step in. So just to quickly recap on the ones we gave out, the ones our community dished out as well. I just wanted to get your take on some of the quick categories. So to start off, Richie, the best Stadia Pro game of 2021. Myself and Tom settled on Jedi Fallen Order. Any argument to be made there for yourself out of the list?
I mean, I enjoyed Jedi Fallen Order. I didn't love it the way you and Tom did, but I don't think any of the games on the list I fell in love with. So I think I'll agree. Jedi Fallen Order. Resident Evil 7 may have pushed it close. Control may have pushed it close, but I think on balance it is Jedi Fallen Order.
Good stuff. Of course, yeah. The other nominations.
My personal one would have been East 8, but that's definitely not the Stadia Pro Game of the Year. That's just the one I enjoyed the most.
Choice. Interesting, yeah, of course. Yeah, Resident Evil Control Ultimate Edition, Mafia 3, Dirt 5, and Little Nightmares 2. But yeah, Jedi Fallen Order, good to know. The best Stadia feature, we had Direct Touch Search Bar and the Explore tab refresh.
Well, the Explore tab refresh is absolute garbage.
Yeah. It was just in there as a new feature for 2021. It's almost like
so it's direct touch.
It's like direct a participation. Touch. Yeah, direct touch was what we settled on too. Best ongoing game: Destiny 2, Division 2, PUBG, Hitman: World of Assassination, and The Elder Scrolls Online. Anything you'd like to add, or any preference?
Well, I'm not really the ongoing game sort of guy. Elder Scrolls Online seems to be continuing to go strong. Division 2 has its moments. I think it's probably going to pick up again this year, but I think Destiny 2 is consistently played. Like, it's got to be Destiny 2. The game just doesn't die. It doesn't, where other games like Division 2 gets a spike when new content comes out and falls away. Destiny 2 just seems to have that. It's like, it reminds me of World of Warcraft, where it just has this constant dedicated user base, and it just, there's peaks and troughs, but it's still such a high up there in terms of how many people play continuously.
Yeah, I agree. Agree. That's why we went first. The next category was the most anticipated Stadia game for 2022, and me and Tom couldn't really settle on anything, but that actually does bode well for our episode of SideQuest we're about to go and record today. So if you are listening or watching along and you would like to get that early, you can sign up to be a member of the channel from as little as 99p, and you get our episodes of SideQuest up to 6 days early on the Sunday, the day of recording usually. Where this week, Richie, we're going to go away and talk about...
We are talking about, as he stalls for time, obviously, the top 20 expected games of 2022.
The literal... nomination one about is the most anticipated game. So yes, we'll focus that into it. I'm looking forward to it. There's a long list of titles that we know about for 2022, but the conversation is definitely going to be about, will they come? How will they come? And I think we can all agree they need to come.
Yeah.
So
there's a long list of games, but no. This is why you've Tom agreed on not applicable, because we don't know what's coming to Stadia.
Yeah. So we're going to go away, and
I agree with your assessment on that one. It's like we don't know what's coming, so it's hard to have an anticipated Stadia game. So
I don't want to give it to like Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora, because it's the one of
we don't know it's coming.
Big games we it was
it's not confirmed.
Ubisoft Forward.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
All right, sorry.
I made a thumbnail for it. But either way, I don't want to just give it to Avatar when there's 20 other games that, in my opinion, should be coming. But we just don't know. So let's go theorise on SideQuest, folks. Like I said, you can get it up to 6 days early by clicking join on the YouTube link below. Next up, we've got Stadia Indie Game of the Year. Pixel Junk Raiders, Wavetail, Grime, Merrick's Market, Kaze and the Wild Mask, The Falconeer, Super Animal Morale, 100 Days, Little Big Workshop, and anything else you can think to throw in there, Richie.
I still haven't played it, but I think Wavetail's probably the one that seemed to be the best received. I do like 100 Days, but yeah, I think it's got to be Wavetail.
Good choice. Out of those, I think even our community who wrote into the show, whether it was in Discord or they reached out to us on YouTube in the comments or Twitter, Wavetail seemed to be I don't know whether it was just recency bias or it just hit at the right time, but loads of people wrote in and said that Wavetail was their best one too. Rounding things out then, Stadia Game of the Year, Richie. We've got Hitman 3, Little Nightmares 2, Outriders, Resident Evil Village, Life is Strange True Colours, Far Cry 6, and Chorus.
Personally, for me, I think it's Life is Strange.
Mm-hmm.
But I think if I had to go, what do I think is the best Stadia game to come this year? I think it would be Resident Evil Village.
I think me and Tom had a back and forth with those ones. They all have their own merits.
I think you went with Far Cry, but for me, Far Cry just seemed to come and go. It didn't. I don't think it had the same sort of impact as like Resident Evil Village did when it came to the platform.
Yeah.
It might be just because Far Cry is a Ubisoft game, so it was expected to be there. Where Resident Evil Village. Oh, but wait, we're getting Village. That's awesome. I had a bit more hype about the release.
Yeah, I think me and Tom said it did have that benefit of we got the news of us getting Biohazard free on Pro to kind of come out the month prior to Village. So you had like a 2-1 punch of two big AAA, like arguably probably the only time of the year we got 2 months of AAA releases back to back, like with some consistency. So because Chorus didn't come to like well in December, Life is Strange was like September time. So there was those like month gaps in between. But yeah, I'd be happy with Village as well. Far Cry 6, I think, just because like you said, it was expected and it's a big game after all. We skipped the best remake, best remaster. Out of those, I think you probably only played Skyward Sword, right?
I haven't played Skyward Sword ever.
Never mind.
But I've got some issues with some of the ones on the list. Mass Effect shouldn't be on the list at all because it was a broken mess when it launched. Same with GTA.
I thought it was the best one.
It was unplayable for me. Like, it was a broken mess. And that's why I can't... I think it should be the best game in that list.
Mm-hmm.
But in my personal experience, it clearly wasn't. GTA, again, same reason, broken mess when it launched. It's a remaster. It shouldn't be broken on launch. Like, you've had decades to fix it at this point, so I don't like the whole XP share always on for Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, otherwise that would have been a shoe-in for me. So I'm going to give it Alan work.
Good old Alan pulling through.
Yeah.
And then the final big one, again, not Stadia specific, but it is to round out the year. The overall game of the year comes in with that's across all platforms: Hitman 3, Little Nightmares 2, Outriders, RE Village, Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart, Psychonauts 2, Life is Strange True Colors, Deathloop, Kena Bridge of Spirits, Far Cry 6, Guardians of the Galaxy, Call of Duty Vanguard, Forza Horizon 5, Battlefield 2042, Chorus, Halo Infinite, of course, with the caveat that we don't have time or funds to play all these games, so it's very much on marketing, influence, other people's opinions to kind of come to a general consensus. But me and Tom settled on Guardians of the Galaxy. I finished it. Tom was, I think, 3 chapters in. You haven't touched it yet.
No.
So what on this list would you give the accolade to?
If this was the game, if the Game Awards was happening this month, I actually think it'd go to Halo Infinite. I think Halo Infinite's launch was a bit. I think Halo Infinite will be the game of the year contender for 2022 for this year's. I think it just missed the cutoff. Personally, of the games I've played this year, that came out this year, I'm gonna go with Tales of Arise.
Yeah, it's not even on our list, or my list.
It's not. Yeah. But for me, of all the games I've played this year that came out this year, which is actually relatively a small list because not much came out this year.
Yeah.
So I've been playing a lot of games from previous years. Tales of Arise is the best.
Good stuff. And there you have it, folks. That is Richie's Game of the Year for 2021, which brings us to a proper close this time of the Sounds of Stadia podcast, episode 119. That is another hour and 20 plus minutes added to the long list in the fresh start of content. We'll probably have 70 plus hours of this show for you in a year's time. So stay tuned. Keep it locked to the channel. Don't forget to like the video, subscribe, and share with your friends and fellow Stadia gamers out there so they find our content. We can bring them into the fold. They can enjoy this show. They can enjoy SideQuest. They can enjoy our first looks, live streams, and all the chitter-chatter that goes on in our Discord. All of that information is found in the description below. Thank you very much for joining us throughout 2021 as we take that step forward, Richie, across the threshold into the new year. Hopefully it's a great one for cloud gaming. Hopefully it's a great one for Google Stadia. We'll have much more news and shows and games hopefully to discuss along the way. But it's a fresh start. Let's enjoy it. My name's been Chris.
And I've been Richie.
We've been Helix Cloud Games. Thanks for tuning in, folks. And remember, play whatever makes you the happiest. Goodbye.